This episode of WenMint, Cardano Culture and NFTs was brought to you by our good friends over at ADArunnerz. They're minting today. That's right, today. Now, if you love arcade gaming as much as I do, those old school arcade games, you're going to want to go check this out. So, first, of course, while you're here on Spotify, right, subscribe to the show, give us a star rating. But then, right after that, go directly to ADARunnerz.io to get involved. You can also find all of their official links in the description as well. Now, back to the show. Welcome to episode 4 of WenMint, Cardano Culture and NFTs. I'm the machinist. CMDR is here too. And we have the head honcho of Platypus Cyberpunks here to hang out with us. Eddie, what's going on, my friend?
Nothing, just another beautiful day in Platypus Pond. Loving it, paddling along, keep it going, keep it swimming.
Hell yeah, got to paddle. It's nice that it's nice there because it's not nice where CMDR is it, my friend?
No, we've got about a half an inch of snow on the ground. If anybody knows Portland, Oregon, everything is absolutely shut down and will be so until it melts away. So yeah. We don't deal with snow very well here in the Pacific Northwest.
No. Well, we talked about this the other day. Eddie, I don't know if you knew this, but apparently they don't use salt out there for any amount of snow or ice. Yeah.
Nope.
So I come from Northeastern. So I'm from Massachusetts. I moved to New Hampshire for a bit. I've hung out in Rhode Island and all the other states. Salt is necessary.
It is necessary.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree.
Salt and sand is necessary. If you don't use that, you're definitely shutting down always.
I'm actually from Ohio, so I was born and raised there for about 25 years of my life, and I was so used to the roads being salted and everything. I got out here, and the first time I ever saw the snow, like literally the highway shut down at a half an inch of snow. They told me they can't salt anything because of the rivers and the ecological system here. We've got a lot of salmon runs and stuff like that. So they say that it'll kill the salmon off and all this other stuff. They put this spray down on the roads like a pre-treat or whatever before the snow comes, but it does absolutely fucking nothing. We had 1 year out here, I think it was in 2012, where we got like 6 or 7 inches. And we have a major highway out here that's on a huge hill, and people just abandoned their cars. They couldn't get up. They couldn't get up the hill. The entire highway was blocked off. People abandoned their cars for days. Everybody got towed. It was a disaster. So
I don't know why, but inside my soul is just like I want to be like that old man. This is like back in my day. I walked 15 miles and knee deep of snow.
uphill both ways. Exactly.
Yep. You are an old man, Eddie. It's okay. I am too. CMDR is the only young buck around here.
What are you talking about?
What? How old are you?
I'm 40, bro.
Are you?
Yeah. I just look amazing. So
Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm the youngest one here then. I'm 33.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm 30. How old am I? 38.
I need to work on
that.
Face.
Yeah. All right. So moving on. Also, we forgot to mention today's episode is actually brought to you by our good friends at ADArunnerz. They are minting this weekend. Make sure you head down to the show notes. All of their official links can be found right there in the description. Go check them out. Also, they were on, what was last week's episode? Episode 3. Right? Season 2, episode 3. We did a Web3 gaming episode. Check it out. It's pretty amazing.
Big shout out to Professor Z. He's an amazing guy running a really cool project. If you're into old school games, definitely check it out.
The project's cool, but professors. I'm kidding. I love you, buddy. Anyway, all right. So we got to talk about platypuses. Make sure if you're watching us, wherever you're watching us, or if you're listening to us, that could be a problem, right? Because this podcast is in video on Spotify. It's also available everywhere else you can get a podcast, but it's audio only. So make sure if you want to see our smiling faces and see Eddie, he's actually a real live platypus. I swear to God, he is. He's a talking platypus. Just come watch the show. And while you're here, subscribe and give us a star rating, preferably 5 stars, maybe 4, nothing less than 4. Yeah. All right. So
I fucking love you, man.
That's it. We have to disclaim, I think.
Yes. Oh, we're gonna have Eddie do this, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Eddie, can he see it?
I think so. If you go to the private chat on the right side of your screen there, little tab, you will see our disclaimer. Please proceed to disclaiming, everyone.
Disclaimer. WenMint is disclaimer. WenMint is for educational purposes only. All in caps. Assume that what you're hearing, all in caps. Nothing said or alluded to within this program represents the views, opinions, and or ideology of WenMint, its hosts, guests, affiliates, partners, and or related social media platforms. In other words, believe in nothing we say. We don't even believe half the shit that comes out of our mouths, and we're the only ones saying it. We love you all. Do your own research, bitches.
Bitches. Well done. Well done, my friend. That was
We're going to have to make this a theme, dude. Anybody who's comfortable with it, they're going to have to read the disclaimer from now on.
And if they're not comfortable, they read it twice. Yeah.
I like that. That's a good segment. That's a good way to jump into it.
Hell yeah. Oh, you should have seen last week with Professor. He got tripped up at the bitches part a little bit, but it's okay. Yeah. Right? It's not like when we were kids on TV when you couldn't say but, right? The world's different now.
That's
right. PG-13.
Yeah. Or NC-17. Do they even make NC-17 stuff anymore?
I know Cinemax does.
Skinemax. All right. Moving on from Skinemax.
Moving on.
Eddie, this is really exciting. I don't know I know CMDR is a big fan too, but I'm a huge fan of Platypus Cyberpunks, and I'm a huge fan of real estate, but it kind of scares me because I feel like that's something for other people, smarter people, more well-connected people to do. But you've made it so everyone can have a part of that market and have some fun at the same time with some pretty amazing looking non-fungible tokens. So what do you say? What's Platypus Cyberpunks like in an eggshell, I guess, and we'll take it from there.
In an eggshell, it's what I always say it is. It's a mullet. Party in the back, business in the front.
Hell yeah.
That's why we separated some of the organizations that make us what we are today. So Platypus is party in the back. We love to have fun. We're all degens. We like to see progress, and we all root each other on, and we support each other. Right? I want Platypus to be not only a place for a community to come together and really understand different things and get educated on the general things of finance, but also if you're an entrepreneur and you want to have a community that supports you, join us. We have launched a few projects at this point. One being the Platypus 3D printed characters, so they're little desktop toys.
Saw those.
Actually, a member of our community did that. He just used his IP, created his own 3D characters, and modeled them, printed them, painted them, packaged them. It's very professionally done. Hodlbox. So I'm gonna just shout him out real quick.
Shout out to Mythical. Mythical is the man.
Absolutely. Mythical is he's a homie for real. The amount of effort and work he put in, and then documenting the process all the way through, absolute legend. But yeah, and then the business in the front is really how do we succeed? How do we prosper as you can have fun, but you can't have fun when trying to get sales or build a business. There's moments where you got to be serious.
Right.
So that's where Whimsy comes in, and then anything associated to that, where we will be in traditional finance, where you would see traditional assets like real estate, getting into short-term and long-term rentals, and being able to generate revenue, hopefully generate revenue, because you can't promise anything. You could have vacancies, you can have the place burned down. So there's obviously insurance, but it's not a promise because you can't guarantee that someone's going to be leasing the place, right? But it's an opportunity to get into a direction where you can get into a much more real world asset. Those RWAs everyone's talking about. And I think I got in early, way early before it started getting popular. But I think tokenization in 2024, 2025 is going to be one of the biggest things that's going to start hitting a lot of institutionals, but also smaller brokerages when the real estate's there. So that's where that Platypus Cyberpunk is like how we got there, how we all got together, and then let's build some stuff. Let's make it real successful.
Right on. So you guys are planning on fractionalizing real estate, right?
Correct.
Isn't that? Yeah. So can you explain exactly what that means to a layman?
Yeah. So the fractionalizing, just by the definition, is you're taking one thing and you're separating it into parts. The way that we're going about it is, we're following everything within the U.S. We could have done, international. We could have ignored the U.S. We could have been already in a good place to just start business. But I'm one of those people who wants to make sure everything is actually done right, dot all the I's, cross all the T's, because I don't want to come back to it later with like a summons to court and then have to figure out how to change and pivot later. So what we've gone ahead and done is we've gone ahead and started the process with the SEC as well as FINRA. So we're going to be fully compliant. This means that we will actually be listing these properties that we purchased through Whimsy on the EDDY'S. You'll actually be able to search these live. These will be actual assets and securities that are registered with the United States government. The
Wow,
SEC.
that's awesome. Hell yeah.
And then FINRA, for buying these tokens, you have to report who's buying them. So that, there's going to have to be KYC. We're going to have to be legitimate in the way it is. But when you fractionalize and you do it in this process, we're taking the business entity that essentially owns the property, and we're selling shares of that business because it is a business. Every real estate property that goes into having tenants and doing rentals, that's a business. And then that's how it's differentiated between an asset. Because if you just buy the property and no one's in it and you just buy to hold, then it's an asset. And it's just something that you can pull equity out of or,
Right.
whenever you want. So that differentiation allows us to sell business shares of the property that's held in that business. So you'll be buying shares and you'll have your equal percent distribution. If there is any return on that property, you get your equal share. If you own 1%, you get 1% of the net.
So how does one, I mean, obviously this all sounds amazing and it's great that you're making this so legitimate, right? I'm sure there's going to be lots of screaming and complaining about KYC and everything else, but it has to be done, right? If you want a real business that's going to pay out in the long run and be able to stand on its own 2 feet and not just keep pumping out mints to make more money and hype, you need to be a real business, right? Yeah. And sounds like you're well on your way to doing it. But how would we get involved in this? Let's say like my house, right, that I'm sitting in right now, is owned by Whimsy Estates, right, or Platypus Cyberpunks, and you're going to fractionalize this for your community. Okay. And I have a whole bunch of, do I buy into this with a token? How does this work? And then are there decisions I can make, like on whether or not we update the property if I have part ownership, or how does that work?
So since we're going down the securities route, you are getting security tokens of the business. So that at some point we'll provide governance, but real estate is not a scenario where you can have too much voting. Right. There will be a governance piece added later, and the way that dynamic or that mechanism works needs to alter from what I've spoken about in the past, because my lawyers have made me realize that I have to actually wait to make any sort of decisions until everyone's voted, not just getting to a quorum. So if you submitted a vote or you didn't submit a vote, that could actually prevent us from replacing a roof. That could prevent us from maybe putting an addition because that area is now very touristy and we should add that additional room for revenue. There's a lot of stuff that would prevent us from progressing in that particular property. So we need to take a little bit more control over how we manage and we take care of it, right? Because we need to make sure that it's as successful as we can make it in that area. But when it comes to participating, we wanted to make this as similar and as close to traditional FI as you could, because a lot of our marketing won't even be for the crypto space. A lot of our push is going to be for the demographic of people who want to get into real estate, but traditionally they just can't right now because it's just too expensive. The rates are too high or something for them in their area, or they just can't save enough money, right? and giving people an opportunity to even save money through real estate by putting it on the platform and just accumulating an asset, opposed to maybe getting a point not 2% of a bank account. So the traditional means of how we market, how we get people on the platform still means we require USD. We're going to have a company called Drive Wealth that's going to be our broker agent for escrow accounts. So we won't even hold your money. It'll be an entire institution that is recognized and legally licensed to do so. So if you're going to put USD, you're going to put fiat, you can connect your Plat account, you can connect your credit card. They'll take care of all that for you, and they'll interact with our platform to make purchases. But also, I wanted to make sure that it was a great place to transition. If you wanted the benefit of holding your own tokens, you wanted the benefit of having some interesting functionality with NFTs or tokens or using crypto to make those purchases. I wanted to give that the best of both worlds. So the whole point of it is to make it more accessible to transition people into what that future tokenomics, that future crypto kind of space would be when real estate really hits it.
So can we get into this a little bit more, because I've had this conversation with a lot of my friends. So you're talking about going full on legit with the SEC.
Yes.
I know I read in the white paper that you want to be as decentralized as possible, but it seems like you're going to have a lot of centralized aspects to this project. I know a lot of people are getting into crypto for that decentralization, and a lot of people think that decentralization means zero regulation. Anybody who's actually interested in crypto and wants to see it go mainstream knows that that's not the case, and it will never be the case. So how have you dealt with your community giving you kickback on the centralized aspects of your project?
So that's like the toughest one, because every time I'm like, yeah, let's be decentralized. Yeah, let's have a future where I don't have to be there, right? It's difficult because when you want to go legitimate, you have to play by the rules of the countries that you're playing in. So I've I'll say it, I don't care. So I've been talking to some real estate people in Dubai. This is way too much alpha I should be sharing, but I'm the founder. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's WenMint. Who cares?
So I've been talking to real estate people in Dubai, and they will not do business with anybody unless they're following some sort of criteria. And that's not like individuals. That is the country that will not do business with you unless you're following a major country's regulations. So if we're compliant in the US, prior to going into Dubai, we'll be much more faster at getting properties listed, getting things created, being able to sell fractionalized shares of those entities. A little different than buying some property and trying to get shares listed for entities that are in South America, where the laws aren't as stringent, right? So it's just depending on how we approach it and the best means of getting into the certain markets that are the most fruitful. But when you get into a market as the most fruitful, you got to follow the rules, and it's almost impossible to do business unless you're following compliance in certain parts of the world.
And the U.S. has such a stick up its ass about crypto that if you're following the rules here, you're probably following them everywhere.
But this is the thing about the decentralization. We can be decentralized in certain ways.
Right.
I'm now, my community is very strong, but also EDDY'S, shout out to my homie. He's always looking for ways to make us more decentralized. Give the keys to somebody else and let it run somewhere else. I need to speak to my legal team on like how decentralized we can be when you're a registered security.
Right.
Because there is somebody who does have to record information, who does have to report who owns what and how much of what and what wallet belongs to who. I think decentralization is feasible, but the amount of effort and work it would take to make it fully decentralized but also compliant would be very difficult. Hence why you got those groups like the Bitcoin who hasn't really touched the protocol in so long because they can't make a decision.
Right.
Yeah. And there's nobody who can really force them to do anything because they are truly decentralized.
Right.
So they just kind of stay stagnant. And that's my worry is laws change. Tax law changes every year. That this is information that needs to be consistently updated and curated to make sure that people who are using the platform aren't being defrauded and aren't put in a position of being fraud. So you gotta protect your users. You gotta protect the platform. You gotta make sure the business is legitimate. And decentralization is feasible, but it's such a heavier lift to overcome than trying to get real estate on a fractionalized basis in the blockchain. Like, I've done the one-to-one comparison. Decentralization, I have a document that I've written that explains how you can make it really feasible, like how you can deploy the app, how you can make it decentralized. The problem comes when you try to play ball and you have to be compliant. It's almost impossible.
Right.
Right
In
on.
a perfect world, right? In our perfect Web3 world, everything's decentralized and everyone's anonymous, and our magic internet money makes us all bajillionaires. But like you said, we have to play by the rules. And that's actually one thing I really like about Platypus Cyberpunks and Whimsy Estates is that the person heading this up, it's this guy named Eddie. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he knows his shit. Like, he's done this for a long time. You know what I mean? And he knows what he's talking about. So if you could, like, what's some of your background in real estate, and what makes you, so good at what you do?
I think it's just my hunger for knowledge. I'll say this forthwith: I don't trust or respect the IRS,
Fair.
and I've done everything in my power to learn enough about tax law to be very dangerous. So I have a tax accountant, and he grounds me in the things that I want to do. Uh, and for Whimsy, we've gone ahead and actually hired. I think it's a AAFCAPs. So it's an entire company that does the auditing and all of our CFO responsibilities.
Wow.
We have to have it. It's part of the Form 1A for registering with the SEC. You have to have a full audit. And that's why we waited until 2024 to do it. So I don't have to spend an entire year's worth of, revenue to talk about spending money with no revenue on an audit for it.
Makes sense.
So with that, it's just my background has always been finding information, getting the best that I can in my own personal finance, and just being educated, right? I think that's just one of those things that they don't teach in school. And it's one of those things that's very important. Like, if everybody understood how taking a loan for college works, no one would go to college.
Nobody. Absolutely fucking
Nobody
nobody.
would.
It's the truth.
Especially with the very predatory interest rates, and how you'd be paying interest for 20 plus years and still not pay down your original balance.
Yeah.
It's a lot of those things that scared me into learning about money. And then I luckily got into a company pre-IPO, made some good shares, make some good money when we IPO'd, and I used some of that money to get into real estate up in the Northeast. I know the areas in the Malden, Revere, Melrose, Everett area really well. I'm actually looking at another property up there just for me. But there's always opportunity, and I was always working with friends to get into these properties. So they would come to me, and this is where Whimsy came into, like, that fruition of idea. Is I would give them money, they would go and prep a property, renovate it, put a tenant in it, and then I would get a kickback. Now, I've sold all that stuff two of them, they bought me out of it because they wanted to keep it.
Right.
But a few of them, about 3 or 4 of those properties, I essentially just said, hey, let's sell it. Because we got them in like 2019, 2020. By 2021, I was like, we have 3 years worth of equity. Give me my money.
Right. That's a fact. Hell yeah.
So it was like, I don't need to wait for long term. They just sell these things, and we'll take the money and we'll figure it out later. So that's what I did. I got out of them. I'm sitting on some cash that I've made from those properties, and I was like, let's figure out how to automate this. How can we make this more transparent? How can we make this an easier situation? Because finding people with money to do these opportunities is incredibly difficult, especially when you're not in those kind of spaces, or you don't have friends who are just like rich. I grew up poor. I lived in my car for a year, way before I got into any sort of money in my life. So I definitely understand how it's like very difficult to find the people that you're looking for that can help you get to the next stage. Why not make it so that everybody can participate, right? Everybody can see the opportunity. Everybody who likes it or wants to be a part of it can put some money in, and then have an institution whose sole purpose is to go acquire that property, go set it up, go make sure that it's being marketed for rental, and then go lease it. And then after the fact, manage it for you. Now you just don't have to think about it. Just like myself, I didn't have to. I just gave my friend John, I probably shouldn't use his name, but I gave my friend John some money, and he would just do exactly that. He just had a bunch of condos, and we would just manage all of them that way.
That's
and then,
awesome.
Obviously with depreciation and appreciation and all the tax law and everything, who owns what, that's where I started to learn just my way about handling an asset like real estate.
If you ever have anything for rent around Connecticut, in the Connecticut area, let me know, my friend. I'm a great tenant.
So.
Immediate source of income through the machinist right here. So I think that's a good segue. So let's talk about how people can get into this, right? You got the project ready to go. What are the steps for people to be able to take advantage of what you're building here?
So not necessarily ready to go. Whimsy is still, I don't want to launch anything until I have the go-ahead. There's a process in registration where it's called testing the waters. It's like a legitimate, you would think that's a weird phrase to have for a government organization of test the waters.
They have a lot of weird stuff going on. So it's
an actual process where you can list property and say, hey, if people are interested, we'll sell it. And then based on selling those shares, we can then pursue the purchase of that property. We can pay for it's a $10,000 value, by the way. Every time that I have to list a property on the Edgar, it's $10K for my lawyers. I shopped around. It is the cheapest I can get.
Jesus.
But the team that I'm working with will package them. So if I have 4 or 5 properties for $10K, I can list all 4 or 5.
Oh, there you go.
So if we just sell lots of shares, guys, and we have multiple properties to list, it'll save us money. Everyone listening,
shameless
show. Them all out. Let's sell them all out.
So quick thing. So Whimsy, obviously, you're still going through all the steps as you should, right? To make this a truly legitimate and one day, hopefully, international business. Yeah. But there is something that's out there right now that people can get that will get them into this ecosystem, right? And that's these awesome Platypus Cyberpunks, right? Exactly. How do these, like, if I have a platypus, which I do, I already know this answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway, right? If I have a platypus, how will that help me be a part of Whimsy when the time comes, right? Is it through staking, wink, wink, or something else? I don't know.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. Yeah, so I've built it in a way where they are disconnected. Platypus Cyberpunks will technically be a customer of Whimsy.
Okay.
And Platypus Cyberpunks would share its returns as essentially gifts, free to the internet. Essentially just giving away money.
I like that.
That's the only way I can say it without a promise. We're just going to. I
think we can just end it right here,
and that's it. We're just going to. Hey, here's some cool stuff for being a member. Enjoy. It could be merch. It could be crypto. It could be tokens. It could be a gift card. You know, we have different ideas for ways to reward everybody, but you have to have a platypus to have access to that. Obviously, we have NFT staking where you can earn Venom. And I think Venom, the best way to explain what it is, because everybody wants to receive something for free and then get something else for free. And the world just doesn't work that way in a beautiful sense of what it is.
Unfortunately.
Venom is your credit card points. And right now, through staking, is your way to get your sign-on bonus. Because after the NISO is complete, the NFT initial stake offering, we're going to smush that return rate down to like very small. So if you're making hundreds of thousands of Venom now, if you're making millions of Venom now based on your holding, enjoy that, hold on to that. It'll come into play, but Venom will be part of every single part of our ecosystem, from Whimsy to eventually we will have a platform for booking. We will have access to utilizing your NFT for properties in many different ways, not just purchasing. And, you know, because some of the properties that we'll be putting on Whimsy are for vacationing and resort-based, like our Belize property I've been very transparent about, you might be able to get a couple free nights. You may be able to get a couple free stays, maybe some drinks at the bar that we're friends with. Maybe, you know, we do have a private chef that I know in Belize that maybe you can get a free week depending on what kind of trait you have, or maybe how much venom you have. You have to create the economy for these things, and because it doesn't technically exist yet, we're building all the mechanisms now so that we can get to that place where we can utilize venom and the NFTs for all these different things that we have access to.
Okay.
Hell yeah, absolutely. And speaking of staking, right? What is the deal with mayo? I have to ask, because everyone that watches this show knows that I absolutely love mayonnaise. I am a big fan of mayonnaise. Have you ever had a banana and mayonnaise sandwich?
I have.
Aren't they amazing?
My grandmother put me on those when I was much younger. I haven't had one in a long time, but yes, they are very good.
Thank fucking God. I quit. I'm serious. I fucking quit the space because for 2 years, people have been ragging on me for banana mayonnaise sandwiches, and no one else had ever tried one.
It's disgusting in the way you think about it, but it's delicious when you eat it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes,
like, if you think about the contents of the sandwich, not great. But if you just eat it and not think about it, perfectly fine.
Yeah, it really is. And you have to cut the bananas kind of at a little bit of angle.
Yeah.
So you get like the elliptical, piece, and you shingle it like a roof. Anyway. So mayo, what's going on with mayo? What is this? And why should I delegate here?
Mayo is way higher than that now.
Oh yeah, this is a picture from X here, or Twitter, whatever we call it. So let me find mayo. Can I just search on Pool? Just type in mayo.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's do it.
Look for mayo, just like you do on Amazon.
God, I love mayo.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, by the way, people, I forgot. Go to Amazon, search WenMint. This is a really weird way to announce this, but we have really cool merch that just dropped. So there's pop sockets, there's hoodies, there's a raglan tee. There's going to be a whole bunch of other stuff. So check it out. But first,
it's the best segue.
Yeah, shameless shill.
Totally shameless. Here's mayo. We're almost what is this? Almost 1.2 mil right here.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah. So before we get into the stake pool, what's the deal with mayo?
Yeah, why mayo?
I really need to know why you chose mayo.
So mayo has been a long running. So Platypus Cyberpunks is a community of absolute degens.
Oh yeah,
and we love to have fun. And we have fun in the most, I would say, 4chan light way of fun. Not too deep, just enough. Where I once there's this one point where I was doing Twitter Spaces. Shout out to our or I guess rest in peace, no nipple lactation.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, you did? Oh,
yeah. No, I mean I miss it. I saw it.
You miss it? I can't. I'm gonna bring them back. I had a poll of bringing the spaces back. So I got to bring something more awesome back, but I can't use the same name. It definitely rubbed people the wrong way. Our community was only male, but the spaces. I had a segment where I was like, okay, everybody. Well, the synopsis of it is I would actually find founders of projects that have minted or are minting or are planning on minting, and I would interview them in a way of like business chat. Okay, right. Have you ever, my favorite questions were, have you ever held 10 grand? Have you ever held 100 grand? Have you ever held $500,000? And based on the answers, I would tell you, okay, well then you need to come to me with a plan because the amount that you want to mint is going to net you X amount. How are you going to, like having that kind of conversation and being very direct about what's your plan? How are you going to handle this? How can we trust you that this money isn't just going to run away because it's the first time you've ever held that much money? Or having conversations, deeper into their business structure of like, okay, well, let's look at your business model. You're going to sell clothing. Great. Where's the warehouse? How are you going to fulfill these things? How are you going to get these out to people? Do we have custom boxes? Getting into the details of business. Right. I've been doing stuff like this. I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, on and off between working at different companies. And I looked at working at companies as like a way to get paid to get the skills that I needed. And then I would leave and then do something. And I did this for a long time. But I use my experience and the things that I've done in the past to like really get in depth into the business and to understand where they're at. And 9 times out of 10, I would sniff out "don't put your money here" kind of conversations. or I would cut meetings really short, be like, yeah, cool. All right, have a great day. There's nothing else to ask you because
sounds
not
good.
real.
Yeah, no
But
plan.
a lot of that came with, the platypus community. And I'd be like, all right, give me 3 questions to ask. And every once in a while, we would have funny questions. Like one of them, I would tweet earlier in the day, oh, hey, do you guys think mayonnaise is a condiment or a seasoning? And then you would get a bunch of people being like, what? That is disgusting. I'd have some great engagement on those tweets. But then later in the day when I asked like, all right, community, any questions for the guest? And somebody's like, ask them if they like mayonnaise. And it just became a like an ongoing thing where the community kept asking me to ask every guest. Except for once. One time it was like to like a logical question of like, hey, are you a toaster strudel or are you a Pop-Tart kind of person?
But that does tell you a lot.
It does, right?
It does.
I thought it did. It's very psychological. It's like toaster strudel, you're methodical. You have to take your time. You have to wake up a little early to make sure you can get the icing on there. Yeah. You're going to burn yourself, so you have to be patient to eat it.
Well, there's also the halfway, right, where you cook the toaster strudel, but you eat the icing before it comes out of the toaster.
And that's all part of the questioning, right? Yeah.
Right? I like it. I like where this is going.
So that's where the mayo came from, where I'm like, okay, well, we could do paddle. And then, it's one too many letters for a ticker for a pool. How about pond? Oh, somebody else already has pond. Well, I'm like, actually, no, here's the perfect one, mayo. Because we also have a trait, mayo, where the platypus is holding a jar of mayo.
There is? Hold on, I'm going to find one. I'm going to find one and buy one right now.
So was that trait added specifically because of that question, or was it just already in the series?
That was a question. So my wife is the one who did all the art. And as we're doing all this, I was like, oh, this would be actually a really funny trait, like a community trait to put in. And she's like, oh, that won't take me that long to draw. And I was like, oh, perfect. So we just drew it.
Nice.
I'm looking for a jar.
We just added it in. It was just a little surprise.
I'm going to find this mayo right now. Is there anything special
about them? Like, does a jar of mayo get you anything special in the project?
Right now, if you have a jar of mayo, if you have a paddle, if you have one of the mighty masks, the golden masks, and I think 1 or 2 other traits, you get bonuses for staking. So you get multipliers on top.
Nice. Okay.
Little
extra something for holding that mayo.
Yeah, literally.
Let's
I like
see.
it. What is Ken doing over there?
I'm looking for mayo.
Looking to buy one.
Oh,
I'm trying. Yeah. Well, what's it under? Is it under body,
it
background?
should be under specials.
Specials. Let's
mayo.
see here.
That's amazing.
Food.
Okay, so while he's digging around like a maniac, let's talk about the stake pool a little bit. What's going on with the mayo stake pool?
Right now we're at I think it was at 1.9, just about to tier over to 1.1 or 1.9?
Almost 1.2 million.
Oh, so nice. So we're almost at 1.2. 206 delegations. So with many other stake pools that you see with the million mark and over, they have so many more delegations. We got people who are very dedicated, who are like ready to get involved in this, because all the blocks that come off of this, I don't use them. You can see the margins 100%. There is a feature that I am working on where you can stake your Venom to earn ADA. And the question is, where does the ADA come from? You always have to ask that question because it's a cash flow, right? It comes from the blocks minted here. It comes from royalties, 50% of them, like I've always stated. The white paper always said we would take the profits of whatever shared. Well, I guess they're not really profits, just royalties and blocks minted. And we would put those in a pool. I never specified which pool, what liquidity pool. We will have our own liquidity pool very soon. And the staking will work off of that pool. And you'll be able to stake your Venom. And based on the certain grade of time that you want to stake it for, and they get locked away. And then once they're done, you can withdraw your ADA. So it's going to be a really interesting way to give you a way to stake your tokens that you're receiving and to get real rewards based on that. And then, based on who's staking and all that stuff, I'll pull that information. We can do really cool giveaways and, give people more incentive to stake for longer and so forth. But it also is it's a precursor. Everything that I build is built for potential usability beyond us. So our staking platform, we have partners. You could also participate by just giving us your policy ID, and we can add you to have your own stake. So we'll be hosting our own, but also in the future we'll white label and also just give you, based on a subscription you pay monthly, because I am a businessman. You'll be able to actually have your own. So we would set you up with your own pool. We'll set you up with your own staking protocol. And if you want to use your own tokens, you can. And based on how you interact with your community and where the revenue comes from, you can have it all positioned into this pool, and you can reward your own community automatically with smart contracts.
Wow.
That's interesting. So you're planning on doing locked staking, right? Is that
For the Venom, correct?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a big appreciator of that, actually, because I think that shows you who your diamond-handed holders are, like the people who are not thinking about speculation, the people who only care about the long-term benefits and health of the project. So hopefully you get a large majority of people that are going to stake to that locked staking, because that's going to show that
I think we're going to have a much greater flow. And it doesn't actually, I don't think diamond hands are the people who are going to flow into it the hardest. Because think about it, you can go over to MintSwap, where our liquidity pool is, and you can purchase as much Venom as you want right now. Then you can go and stake it for ADA. You don't have to be a diamond hand to see that long-term staking is fruitful, right?
Let me go take a look at MintSwap here.
Again, that's not a promise, because it could be a month or two with no ADA in the pool.
Right.
And maybe there's a month with thousands of ADA in the pool. It really depends on how loved we are in the community at that point. If people are buying NFTs, 50% of those royalties go to the pool. It's shared amongst everybody. So it's really it's the most decentralized way to reward people that I can really think of, and really get that kind of community piece to it.
So how often are you guys producing blocks right now?
So far, with the new pool, we have been producing blocks since the pool became active. So we're at 5 blocks now. It's been about 1 block per epoch. Last epoch was nice. We got 2 blocks. But ever since we switched over to the pool, a little shout out to Ada Anvil. They're managing that for us and optimizing it on their pool network. We've been hitting blocks constantly. It's been awesome.
Hell yeah! Hey,
it's only going to get better because it just continues. The delegation just gets bigger.
Hell yeah! And as it gets bigger, it'll just continue to grow, just like Platypus Cyberpunks and Whimsy. But we will be right back. We have a quick message from ADArunnerz, the people who made this episode today possible. All right, we're back. Welcome back to WenMint, Cardano, Culture, and NFTs with the one and only Eddie Carra of Platypus Cyberpunks. All right, Ed, I'm sorry. Can I call you Ed? Is that all right? All right. Ed, I don't know why. I just thought of Mr. Ed, like hardcore. I watched that with my daughter a few weeks back. She had never seen Mr. Ed. Can you believe that? The youth of today it's disgusting.
You are old, man. I was also thinking Ed, and Eddie though. The old cartoon, Ed, and Eddie.
You would. Yeah. All right. Way to ruin it. Anyway, no.
Thanks, man.
Anyway, so quick question, and this goes through a lot of people's minds, and a lot of people asked me this, right? And they ask each other this just when Platypus Cyberpunks comes up. They say, what happened to Platypus Cyberpunks? And when they say that, it's obviously because of floor price, because people have this connection in their head of success is directly correlated to floor price. That's not true. And I think that's important to point out. So what would you say to these people that say, what happened to Platypus Cyberpunks? The floor was crazy, 4 months ago, and now it's still over 100 ADA. It's actually creeping up to 200. The floor is pretty thin. But yeah, what would you tell those people?
I would say when you're trying to do real business development, and you're trying to build things that really have a standpoint in real world, the IRL world, things take much longer than what you can just conjure up on a keyboard to facilitate on a platform. I would say there's two parts to why the floor price went down. One, we did go a little quiet, and that's because of legal guidance. We didn't want to say anything and do anything that got us in any hot water, right? Nothing's promised, nothing's guaranteed, everything's a risk, right? And it's always, do your own research, bitches. Like really sink into that. That should be everybody's that should be their motto. That should be their essence of how they go about everything. And it just, things don't turn around fast enough, right? When you compare us to other projects, it's not the same, right? We're not giving you a video game that we took the time to develop and use assets and then maybe purchased and had a third company build some 3D models so we can use them. Money can't go that way for us because we are mostly paperwork in the way that we're structuring. And a lot of that stuff does rely on the speed and efficiency of the government. As we all historically know, not that fast. Working with legal teams, making sure we structure and say the things the right way, making sure that myself, I have, part of this is to buy properties. I'm currently looking at some townhouses right now. I'm looking at some single families. I promised I wouldn't do single families, but there's not many multis left on the market. So we gotta pivot to something. And buying a home on record, the fastest you can do it is 30 days. And that's because you have to do title and deed, and that takes 10 days just to get that done. And then the mortgage, if there's a loan or anything, that all has to take some time. So the fastest I've ever done is 30 days. But on average, it's probably closer to 40, 45 to close on a home, right? And a lot of that also requires, the loan officer to be able to get me the loan, because sometimes the property just doesn't make sense financially, and I'm using DSCR loans. So that's basically just an investment type loan. So it has to at least reach that 1% rule of whatever the value paid can be charged in the rental month. And a lot of places right now are so upside down or lollipopped in rates and value of home that a lot of stuff is priced out. So I have to shop around. I have to take my time and make sure we get the right kind of opportunities. And that takes even more time, right? So everything with a business in the real estate space takes time to get there. Once we have the momentum and we got a few things working in the background while we're also executing and deploying, it's going to feel like, wow, we're just chiming along. We're, every other month we got something new. But that's because we did all the due diligence. We did all the work ahead of time to get to that where it's perceived that way. And I think all of this slowness that you're seeing in our space and the momentum and the volume of the people who are paying attention to Platypus Cyberpunks online, it's really correlated to that. And once we start really announcing, hey, here's this property 1, here's property 2, this one's going to do this one's for this, everyone's going to start really paying a little bit more attention. And it's really just that momentum to get there.
Yeah, I think it is very important to... Oh, go ahead, Bud.
No, I like that last word, attention, because anybody who's been in Cardano long enough knows that this is an attention economy. I mean, you see it on Twitter all the time. If you're not constantly hyping up the project, if you're not constantly providing value on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, people forget that you even exist. So I think the ones who are buying in now while your floor is at the point that it is now are going to benefit greatly. And all those folks who kind of just disappeared during the attention economy phase of all of it, they're going to have to come in at a premium at a later time, and they'll regret it. So, keep doing what you're doing.
And,
man,
just so you're aware, I've hinted this to Paddle Gang, but I'll announce it a little bit. There'll be a little bit more of an official announcement. It's going to be much more high end, but there is a burn coming, and I want less people. I did not do the NFT project for money. I never needed it. I did it solely to build the interest, to bring customers to Whimsy, to bring customers to the booking platform, to bring customers who are interested in the things that we want to build. A way to build a community of people who are not only interested, but also users of the things that we want to build. I want less holders of the NFTs. Um, I want less venom in circulation. So all of these things being said, a lot of you will have FOMO and have nothing that you can do about it at some point. Because the way that some of these people are holding on to these platypuses, they're never going to let them go.
Are you seeing this? Look at this thing. Look at the headphones on it. I think this is like rank 500 or something. I saw it in the Discord. I think I might have to go get this guy.
Oh, there we go. Oh, nice. Got the riot gear going on
I
too.
love it.
Look at that. Only 0.5% with the headphones. 0.25.
He looks a little bit confused though.
It's perfect. But yeah, so pretty much, condensing all of that. If you're wondering what the hell happened to Platypus Cyberpunks, absolutely fucking nothing. Get your head out of the sand. Stop paying attention to, I'm sorry. I know some people love meme coins, but don't pay attention to the flavor of the week. Okay. If you're in this space to make some money, right, get with a project that's actually building something and they're still doing it. Right. I just can't wait to see it all come to fruition and just see Eddie standing on top of the digital Web3 mountain screaming whatever a platypus screams, platypus mating call.
I have to start one every time I get on stage at a keynote. I'm just gonna like yell it out loud,
like a Chewbacca call or something.
What exactly does the platypus mating call sound like?
It just gurrs and vibrates.
Yeah, actually, I saw a very good documentary on platypuses or platypudi. Anyway, on PBS documentaries, right? And there were two platypuses. What was it? Zoom and Zip was the other one, and they went deep into these platypuses and everything about them. Like the bill is not hard, right? The bill's very soft, has all these sensors in the end so they can feel vibrations. They're venomous, right? Didn't know platypuses were venomous. You get in a tangle with a platy that's a little bit bigger than you could be in trouble, my friend. But they are really, really cool critters. Why did you pick platypuses? I gotta ask.
I just thought like I like euphemisms. So like I was a fan of Rooster Teeth, but the whole point of the name Rooster Teeth is cockbite. But you can't look for sponsors and investments using the word cockbite, right?
Sure you can. We'd love to have
now, but the internet was different back then. But I like that thinking of what makes the name. So Platypus Cyberpunks, Cyberpunks kind of always being new technology, being like part of culture, but also being like just that new innovation, but also platypus is weird. So in a sense, it's weird science. And that's why I always liked platypuses for that way.
Nice. Weird science. I dig that. So what about Whimsy? Where did that name come from?
Oh, my wife thought it up. I was like, oh, we got to name the real estate business something. And she's like, what does it do? And I was like, we use magic internet money to make real estate feasible and affordable. And she's like, oh, so it's just like, it's whimsical? And I was like, oh, Whimsy. Okay, cool, done.
Perfect.
Nice.
And it does work very, very well, especially just the WMSY, the ticker. I love it. But anyway, actually, there it is. That platy is mine.
Nice.
You'll see.
Congratulations.
Oh, there it goes. Pending transaction. All right, so let's talk about, I just bought a platypus, right? Which everyone else out there should be doing too. If you're not, there's a problem. But I can connect my Discord to the website here as well, right? So let's try this. Let's see if this works. I don't know if my 2FA is going to give me a bunch of crap.
What 2FA? Look at that immediate connection.
Hey, it did work. Wow.
Nice. Okay. Very nice.
All right. So what can I do now? Right. So I'm on, this is platypuscyberpunks.com. Right.
At the top, you have a calculator and terminal now buttons. Calculator is for being able to just give yourself a way to calculate what your returns could be in Venom based on your wallet contents. So when you're in there, well, you got to connect your wallet for the first time. So go to your user, the little picture of your face, connect, pick whichever one that is. Type and Flint are disabled for now because of some stuff with the library, but
you're going to make me go through a whole bunch of stuff. Let's see. Hold on. I got to open my wallet.
Let's see how many times he messes up here.
Just make sure it's the right wallet when you connect.
All right. I think we got it. All right. Connect. Grant access. Your wallet is connected.
And now you attach it to your Discord, because we had people gaming the system a little while back, and we had to make a lot of changes.
Let's see if this will work. I got to use my ledger here to sign, but I have an external hard drive plugged in for this, so I'll have to try to do it over Bluetooth. We'll see how this works.
Super smart man over here using a ledger. Keep all of your long hold assets very safe. Shout out to the machinist for being smart in some aspects, at least.
In some aspects of listen, I didn't get to where I am in life by making good decisions. Okay, so keep it to yourself.
That's a whole episode by itself, my friend. We'll get into that later.
No, it doesn't want to let me do it because of the Bluetooth. All right. So anyway, but you can still tell us about how this would work.
Yeah. So once your wallet's connected, you can just go at the bottom and say, well, technically it would be your wallet there, but it would auto-populate the information of what tiers you have based on the NFT and the traits, how many are common, and then it would calculate based on your Venom holding and any sort of staking that you're doing. And then you just click calculate, and on the right side, you'd see a full like receipt of what gave you what, how much, and it would tell you how much your projection, because it is a weighted reward system. So depending on how many people are there, how much they're holding, how much time they've spent in staking, that is exactly how you're going to be able to benefit from being in there. So it is a bit of a gamified way where the more you have, or the better ones that you have, will reward you more. Just competing with everybody else who's a delegator.
I like it. Competing in a nice way, right? Yeah, in a friendly platypus type way. No venom involved. Well, except for the tokens.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
So when you're staking, do you have to be delegated to the stake pool as
you
well?
You do.
Okay.
It's and all part of the system, because it rewards all of that stuff rewards you guys. So like if you're not staked to the pool, then you're not going to benefit from the blocks that are minted.
And all of that's interconnected. The stake pool rewards are interconnected with the staking on the website.
Correct.
Okay.
And as you can see at the top, we have a total of 85% staked.
Yeah, 85.08% staked, which is super fucking impressive, by the way. And quick question here, a little caveat. With each platypus, because I remember there was an announcement about this a while back, isn't there a minimum amount of ADA per platypus that you have to stake?
For it to be qualified, yes, it's 50
right.
ADA.
Okay. So if you have one platypus, right, you have to have at least 50 ADA in that wallet that's staked to Mayo. And there you go. You're good. If you have two, it has to be 100, so on and so forth. Do the math. All right.
How much longer is the NISO going for?
So the first phase is going to complete on March 24th, and I'll have some really cool updates then. Everyone's asking, oh, how are you going to prevent a dump? How are you going to prevent a dump? You don't. It's a decentralized world. I don't control it. You want a decentralization? There you go.
You got it.
Yeah, if I'm controlling
a little bit of responsibility.
It's so funny. It's like you're asking for decentralization, but then you're also begging me to prevent decentralization on the same sentence. But there's incentives, right? There's things that we can do to help. Yeah. We'll reduce, I guess, because there's always people waiting to dump and to flip some tokens, right? And everybody's here to make money. That's like I'm only here to provide an experience and to provide really cool technology for everybody to leverage, but everyone's in here trying to make money at some way or another. So I can't prevent you, right? And honestly, I want you guys to have those wins, right? Because that only speaks volumes to how people talk about the project. No one's going to come out of this project saying, oh, they found a way to make sure nobody dumped on the market. How dare they? Nobody was able to make any money. But it's a very different conversation if you have somebody who's like, I just flipped this and I have an X amount. Oh my God, it's the best wins I've ever had in my life. That gets more attention than, yeah, we figured out how to make sure nobody made any money. Mm-hmm. Like it's not a good way to go about it. But yeah, in the terminal, that's where you'd be able to, you still need to attach your wallet. So you probably want to figure that out in a little bit.
Yeah.
But once you've attached your wallet, you'll be able to actually see all your platypuses below. You'll be able to see which ones you can awaken. You'll be able to see your transactions. You can see any partner NFTs you might have, like the Paddle Gang NFT or the Banker Card NFT. Those are partners of ours. So that'll give you a little bit boost depending on what you hold in your wallet.
Oh, it's actually showing now for some reason, but I would still have to
you just aren't connected and attached, so it's not going to recognize when you delegate.
Okay.
But you can always attach it after, and it'll be able to enable it.
Cool.
So did I read something in the paper about like a one-time airdrop for each one of these platypuses after the NISO?
Click onto that platypus. That should open it up. So right now, total claimed is 0, but you just bought a platypus that has 1374.00.
Well, no, this one I already have. I still have to send the good one.
Oh, gotcha. So that particular platypus, you see that how it's accumulating? Each one starts off with 1350.
Okay.
Oh, okay, nice.
So that's the airdrop, right? Because you still have to claim it. Fun fact, I built this in a way, so as I mentioned earlier, I hate the IRS, but I look at the rules and regulations they have to play the game. If you're going to write rules, then expect me to follow them, but also expect you to follow what you said I'm allowed to do. Nobody has to claim any of this on their taxes until they claim. There has to be a receipt, well, at least in the United States, there has to be a receipt or wallet transaction that is recorded on your wallet, and that's when you actually report that you've made anything off of this.
So if you just hold this even past the NISO, until you claim, you don't actually have to claim it. So you can just let that sit there for years if you want.
Yeah, and it belongs to you. You're holding the NFT, but you don't actually hold the venom. So until you press that claim button.
That's pretty fucking smart, bro.
Yeah,
I like you.
We need to have a conversation about the IRS, dude. I would love to pick your brain sometime, dude.
I'm not a tax professional, just setting that out. Not a financial advisor of any way. Right. I do what I do for me, and I build it so that everybody's okay.
Please see the disclaimer for anything like that.
Yes, please do. Yes. And so we're about an hour in. We always try to make these like 45 minutes, and it never happens, which is fine. We're having a good time. But I do want to ask you, right? And we'll have some final thoughts about Platypus and Whimsy and stuff towards the end. But just for anyone out there that, like myself or CMDR, anyone else listening that wants to get into real estate, but it feels like someone else's game. Right. Like this was meant for other people. Like, how does someone get started? Obviously, getting some venom, getting a platypus, following these awesome projects and staying on top of what they're doing and being a part of this ecosystem over at Whimsy and Platypus Cyberpunks is a great way to get into real estate. But how do we do it out here in the real world? Like, what's a good first step for people?
A good first step is finding an opportunity. I think that's always first case is and understanding what an opportunity is. Because if you're going to go into the property and you just want to hold an asset, then I would say, great, buy whatever you want. It's going to cost you money every month if you have a mortgage, or if you're buying it cash, you're going to own it. And then you have taxes to worry about once a year.
Right.
So that's one thing. Let's get that out of the way. People can buy and just hold, and no one lives in it. And that's actually a really interesting way of how to use the equity from that to like fund things, right? It's a nice way to take, here's an asset. I don't owe anything on it, but I can. You go to a bank and say, I want to leverage it. You can take money out of that house like a credit card. That's through a HELOC. Or you could just do, probably just be best to do a HELOC. I'm not going to advise anything else beyond that. Because then the bank has to do your background and maybe you have good credit or not.
Right.
But getting into real estate has always been difficult because people say, I don't have the money. Well, you can technically do it without any money. If you do some of the extra work ahead of time and you build your LLC, you get your EIN and you register and you're all legitimate. And make sure there is that new Transparency Act that came out. You're going to have to put your passport and like all the beneficiary information. Who is the owner? Who benefits from that LLC? You have to report that now. But make sure you do all those things and you stay within the law of the land. But you could take that information, go to a bank with your own personal credit score, right? Because to start a business credit, the beneficiary's credit score is what initiates it. So if you have a great credit score and you have an LLC, it'll have a great credit score starting out. You could wreck it, don't do that, but you could wreck it and destroy your credit score. But what you can do is go to a bank and get a loan, or you could go to a hard money lender and get money. And then you can use that to pay for things. What other people have done to kind of like test themselves, or a lot of people do it without money when money was cheap, where the interest rates were like 2%, 3%, 4%. They would just go out and loan money based on the business name and then use that as funding for the down payment. Okay. And here you are making sure that I think the biggest thing to take out of it is have a plan.
Right. Hold on. I'm listening. I'm still listening, but I got to cover this damn window. I'm getting a sunburn sitting here. You guys-
No worries.
Jesus.
Forgot to put sunscreen on that bald head today, huh?
Yeah. So, continue, and I'll be right back. Sorry.
No worries, man. But having a plan is, I think, the biggest piece, because you can take that LLC, you can go get that loan at that bank or a hard money lender and use your EIN to do that. And you could, depending on your credit, you can get from 50 to 250K as a loan. But money's not cheap right now. The rates aren't that bad. They came down actually in the last week. Now I'm getting things at 7% with a 25% down. Not the best. I'd prefer 20, but rates are coming down. And as they come closer to where they were, I'd say 5 to 4%, you're going to have a bunch of people coming back going, oh, I'm going to get this hard money loan. I'm going to get this bank loan or a business loan out of the bank, and I'm going to use that money to go and buy property. As long as you can find property that makes sense on paper, the 1% rule is okay, but things are still too pricey to have the 1% rule. It's like not the best rule anymore. But what you want to do is be able to purchase property that makes money, because now you have to pay for the loan you just took that you're using for the down payment, which you're essentially giving to a different bank or the bank of wherever you got that loan from. And now you're paying a mortgage. So you have to make sure that property generates enough money to cover those bills. And maybe have a little bit of money on the side. Maybe it's in a nice area. You can charge $2,000 for it, but you bought it and you're only paying $1,200 or $1,300 a month for it. Plus whatever the rate or the cost is for that initial business loan. You may be able to bank out with a couple $100, and now you own property that's generating income. Now you have equity that you can lean against for maybe an additional loan in the future, or maybe equity on that property goes up because it appreciated, and now you're able to pull some money out of it and use that to go buy more property. So there's ways to get started that don't cost any money. You just have to sit down and really put a plan together in understanding where the money's going to come from, how you're going to leverage it and use it for your opportunity, and does that opportunity generate enough so that it covers all the bills so you don't have to think about it. I think that's that should be what people do to get into real estate, in my opinion, because so let me phrase it in a nicer way. The things you have to do to set yourself up in that moment make you the person that can do the thing that you're trying to accomplish.
Hell yeah. Wow.
Right?
That was actually very well said. I like that. Yeah. And also, I think, right, a little birdie told me that if you plant a relative in the backyard, you also will not have to ever pay taxes on that property. Is that true?
No.
Oh.
It's true to a degree, but it's not. You have to be recognized as a cemetery.
So 2 relatives.
I don't know the amount. I don't know the number.
I wonder if they actually have to be relatives. It could be anyone.
Technically, the way the law is written, I looked into that, and it's also why Donald Trump buried his ex-wife in one of his golf courses.
Oh my God!
It didn't work out for him, and it didn't work out for anybody else. You can only do that if you're considered a cemetery. So you would be a cemetery with a house on it. That's what makes it tax exempt.
Right.
You can't do that in a community that's zoned for single family, and then you just happen to bury a relative in the backyard.
Nah, maybe a pet cemetery.
Not the same.
How did we get here? I'm sorry.
It's a tax question.
Yeah. So, for folks that are trying to get into this for the first time, the first step you said is to get registered as an LLC, get all your legal paperwork and everything done and taken care of. But would you recommend that somebody trying to jump into this for the first time wait for rates to go down a little bit, or do you think that 7% can still be profitable for somebody trying to venture out there right now?
I'm not waiting. Right now, in this moment, there's zero competition. Every opportunity that I've seen that I've put an offer on, and mind you, I'm lowballing people because I'm an investor. I'm not going to live in the house. If you're going to live in the house and you want to buy a house, you're going to be there for 10 years, buy a house. If the monthly makes sense to you based on what you're able to put down, I would say the best number is between 15 to 20%. That'll get you in a reasonable, livable space. 30%, you'll never complain about your monthly mortgage. It'll be very cheap.
Right.
But if you're going to live in it, go buy a house. There's no need to wait. And you can always refinance because you're going to be living in it, paying it down.
Right. Yeah.
So you can refinance later, not a year later, because these houses are a little inflated. So you're essentially getting a loan on the appreciation that's maxed out. But over time, you'll be paying for it. Say 5 years from then, you want to refinance. Rates should be better in 5 years, with the way our economy works. You should be fine, right? But when it comes to investment purchases, yeah, rates are pretty high. I wouldn't say wait, because the moment that rates hit 3, 4, 5, I think 5% is the magic number that people are going to be like, oh yeah, let's go back out there and buy everything up. There's not much inventory. Like, we're getting a lot more inventory in certain states. Like if you look at Seattle, you look at California, you look at Boston, you look at New York, even parts of Connecticut and Chicago, they're losing people because of the politics, or it's too expensive and people are leaving. So there's a lot of vacancies. There's a lot of opportunity to purchase things because people are leaving there. But also it's a state that is very blue and protects tenants a little too much when it comes to home ownership. So I'm staying away from blue states, even though I said I would get that one in Massachusetts I'm looking at, but it's just a really good opportunity. But that, I'm in Atlanta now because I know it's 72%. Like, you can look at the Georgia stats online, 72% is based on investors. So I know that if I go out right now with high interest rates and no one else is looking, I'm literally the only one in those conversations.
And the price you want to offer,
yeah,
better chance that they're going to take it.
The thing is you can tell based on the sentiment of the market, based on how likelihood that the negotiation comes back to you in the conversation when you lowball the fuck out of it. I went to a property, they wanted 260 or something, and I said, okay, cool, I'll give you 180. And they're like, absolutely not. And then they countered. And I'm like, but what I normally would have done during maybe the peak bull market of 2021, 2022, 2020, 2022 kind of started to die. But around that time is people would just laugh at it, or they would not reply back. Now I'm the only one who's offered anything in the last 130 days. And they're like, well, here's an offer. Let's see if we can get any more money out of them. And that's really what the conversation's been. And I'm just going back and forth, finding opportunities who are willing to listen, to reason. And I make it clear with my agent to explain to the seller agent, hey, I'm an investor. I'm not living in there. They should expect a different price based on asking.
Hell yeah. Actually, it's funny you bring that up. Remember that house I told you about, CMDR, that looked like it was... This house, buddy, looks like it's beat to shit, but it's actually not. They just weren't taking good care of it, right? There's 30-day tenants in it. They have to get the tenants out, but they wanted like 300. So I told them 2. I said, all right, oh yeah, it looks great, 200. And they said, no. We can't do anything less than 265. Yep. So now we're waiting on our next step here to see if we can wrangle them down a little bit lower. But you're right. We did it here. We get 100,000. I took a third off the price and they were still willing to talk.
Yeah. So, I love those conversations because
they came down like 35K on the first counter offer. I mean, that's a pretty substantial amount of money to come down.
Hell yeah.
But the things that the reason I brought up the Atlanta, that like 72% of homes purchased here are investor based. You're talking to investors on the other side. So either they're holding it for asset equity or they're holding it for rentals, long-term or short-term. They're hurting right now because no one's using it. Right. If it's vacant right now, they're hurting. If it's been on the market for 100 days plus, they're hurting. They still have to pay that mortgage payment. They still have to pay the taxes for those months that they had the property. They still have to pay for the base level of electricity to heat the home so the pipes don't freeze. We've had cold fronts coming through here, so that's a very high likelihood. They have to pay for any sort of continuous maintenance, right? So shrubbery, they got to keep it pretty if it's on the market, right? All that stuff comes into play. And really it's just a game of strategy. I'm seeing people with 100+ days. Those are the only ones I'm making offers on. They're the ones coming back going, no, we can only go as low as this, because they want to break even at least. But right. There's some properties I'm going to be looking at, I will say tomorrow. It's 2 condos. Sorry, not condos. 2 townhomes. There's no HOA in the area, which is give or take depending on like how it is. They look decent. and one of them was purchased in November 2023 for $350, and now it's on the market for $180.
Wow.
Hold up. You said in November?
They bought it in November. They probably thought that they would turn it into some short-term rental because it's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath townhome with 3 levels. And it's very nice. It's like one of those new modern ones. Was built like in 2005 based on that kind of design. It looks great. It probably didn't. They probably weren't able to put it on Airbnb and make money off of it because no one's using Airbnb like they did before during 2020 when it was the boom and everyone just wanted to get out of their house. They didn't care where they went. And plus, there's no fun stuff around that property. There's no restaurants.
Right.
There's no.
Who's going to be vacationing there?
Yeah, in the middle of nowhere, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So this property is at 180, and then this other one across from it. I'm going to see if I can buy both because long-term rentals with townhomes in that area, they're good for like people who have kids,
Right.
right? Because there's like 2 schools down the street, elementary and middle. It'd be perfect for people with families. And the one across the street's $250. And they bought it for like $320 or something 2 years ago in the hype of 2021. So if you look long enough, you're going to see opportunities of people who couldn't bank on their opportunity, or you're going to see a bunch of Airbnb fails. Right. And I love the Airbnb fails because they come with all the furniture.
Nice.
They're beautiful homes. They look great. They're all obviously redone for sellability, but they're coming down in prices hard. Some of them are in the $500,000s, $400,000s, but you give it some time, we might see them come down to $380, and I might actually buy a few of those, just maybe even live in it, honestly, because it just looks so nice.
Right. And a great thing about having 2 townhouses or condos right across from each other is you can run like a string across and have 2 soup cans.
Yes.
And you could literally, it's like a duplex that's not attached to each other. I like it. But anyway, we're almost at an hour and a half here, guys. So we do have to start wrapping. This has been a ton of fun. But Eddie, I want to ask my friend, just as a final call to arms for Platypus Cyberpunks, for Whimsy, for Venom, for everything that you're building, that you are still building very diligently. What would you say to anyone out there that either hasn't gotten into the project yet, or maybe was in it and went and chased the next hype thing? What would you tell them?
Thank you for being a part of the community. If you've left, I understand. The chasing the dragon is a very interesting and also alluring creature, but when you understand fundamentals, they will always outweigh any technicals that the market conjures up.
Hell yeah.
Very nice.
Well
very
said.
Nice. I love how you said chasing the dragon.
Yeah. Dragons are very elusive critters.
Yeah.
But yeah,
or chasing the snail, or chasing the viper.
Bro, I woke up this morning. I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Chasing the peepo.
And obviously, this comes out a week after we record it, right? But like, I saw a Gary pass today, right, for a Gary Gensler token. Bro, I minted, okay? And I don't care what anybody says. I'll send it to anyone that wants it, all right? All you have to do is go rate the show on Spotify. I have $Gary. The ticker, there's about 2 billion tokens. Actually, a really nice token. It's got Gary Gensler's face in gold right on it. I worked really hard on it. Actually, I'm going to see if I can find this.
I feel like that's nothing against the project. I don't know who they are, but usually the trend-setting ones based on topics of the day don't end well.
No, they
but
don't.
I feel like at one point you're going to say we got hacked.
Yeah. Probably.
The utility of the token is that it manipulates the market on its own.
That isn't.
That's good. I like that.
All right, boys and girls, here is Gary.
Love it.
Look at this guy, man.
Face?
That is the true Gary
AI
coin,
has come
people.
so far.
If anyone wants some Gary, $, Gary, this Gary, the one that I made months ago just for fun because I'm a degen. Just let me know. All you got to do, rate the show, post proof, and I'll send you a big old bag of Gary. I got like billions of them, but they are pretty cool. And
Honestly,
I think it says Gary loves Ada in the description.
I love it. He doesn't. I think there's an opportunity missed here. They should have made Gary look like Gary from SpongeBob.
Yes, they should have.
I think that would be
like a mashup of Gary Gensler and Gary from SpongeBob.
That would have been the ultimate meme right there.
Oh my God. All right, guys. Well, I guess that's it. Thank you again. What did you think, CMDR, of Platypus Cyberpunks? Are you all excited again? You gonna go buy some platties?
I thought it was great. Yeah, as soon as I start getting some ADA in from my angel investment, I will definitely be going and grabbing up some platties. So we actually gave one away in our marbles tournament recently, and a guy named Darth Plagueis picked that up. I don't know if he ever swung by the Discord or not, but
I think so.
he's a really good guy. So and then we've got another one in our wallet already for next season. So yeah,
Nice.
I should probably get that staking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Get that Venom.
Yeah, but I definitely appreciate you coming on, man. It's really good information, and I'm probably going to start looking into an LLC and maybe just getting my hands on some
journey.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it sounds like it's profitable. So,
yep. The only thing stopping us is us, right?
Exactly.
Oh, all right.
The only thing stopping me is you, Ken.
Yeah, well, and I will continue to stop you. Anyway, thank you again for joining us on this episode of WenMint, Cardano Culture and NFTs, talking real estate with our man Eddie from Platypus Cyberpunks. Go check him out. Buy a platypus. I would, so you should too. I actually did, so you should have already while you were watching this episode. And thank you again to ADArunnerz for making this episode possible. Don't forget, their mint is happening right meow today. Check it out. Their website is ADArunners.io. Thank you again, DYOR bitches. I guess that's it, guys.
Yes.
Later.
Oh, goodness.